Hi, guys, and welcome to another episode of That's Where I'm At podcast. Today, I have my friend Ebony, and I want to tell you about her. She's going to share her story today. Ebony is a mom of four, a certified life coach, and a resilient business owner who has walked the path of divorce, endured abuse, and faced the daunting task of starting her life over as a single mom. She has made it her mission to empower and uplift other women who find themselves in similar circumstances by sharing her own personal journey, her struggles, and triumphs. She believes that no matter what you've been through, you have the strength within to heal, thrive, and create a life filled with joy, purpose, and abundance. And I know she lives this. So, welcome, Ebony. I'm so glad you're here.
Hello, thank you for having me.
I am so glad you're here. You know, I just have I thought of you to come on my show because you've been through a lot, but I just have always seen you that even when you're down, you get back up, because of course it's okay to go down. We just got to get back up. And you've just been really, I've just admired your resilience in that. So anyway, I wanted to say that to you. So, today I think we were going to be talking about kind of life and whatnot, but
Yes, where I'm at.
your your brand new life as a divorced woman and kind of where you're at and how you really help other women or what you do to build them up as well. So let's talk about it. How did you get to the point where you felt you needed to get divorced? So kind of, I don't know, wherever we want to start from there.
Oh,
Wherever we want to start.
yes, yes, I got to a point. Well, I had been in my marriage, I think at that time, maybe 5 years. But it was a marriage that was full of a lot of like emotional abuse. And I think I ignored it from the beginning, even the beginning of dating stages. I
Oh,
feel
okay.
like I got a sign early on, I feel like, and I like completely ignored it
Yeah.
because I was just like, no, he hasn't done anything to make me think that he's a liar and I just
Mhm.
completely ignored it. And so throughout the entire marriage, it was very like just emotional abusive. It was full of just cheating,
Okay.
alcoholism, just it was just full of just so much. And I just endured it. I felt like I was getting older. I felt like, at least I'm able to do my business. At least
Right.
I'm able to, stay home, at least that like,
Okay. Yeah.
why am I living in this at least? And
Right.
so
Well,
it came.
I want to ask you, like before that, and so we are recording on July 4th. So if you hear any fireworks going off, it is the middle of the day, okay? And there's already fireworks going off in my
It's sunny
neighborhood. So
outside.
please don't panic if you hear some things in the background because I know you'll hear them. So I want to ask you because you said you saw some signs and did you know they were red flags at that time or have you learned that since then? Be
Well,
honest.
so, so a couple things. I might get a little spiritual on you because I love
Yes,
God.
you
It's who
get
I
it.
am.
That's
So
right.
in the beginning, everything was like beautiful. I had three kids at the time. He didn't have any kids, and some people
Okay.
would be like, "That's a red flag." But he like embraced my kids, and it was beautiful. And I remember one day I was like, "Oh my God, this is like so great." I had already been through like bad relationships, and I'm like, "This is like kind of what I prayed for." And I
Yes.
remember like I heard so clearly like that he's a liar. Like in my
Oh.
spirit, I heard that he's a liar. And
Oh.
I was just like, what?
And so
Like,
being a woman of faith,
yeah,
you had heard God before and you
yeah.
were like, "No, that's not what's going
Yeah,
on."
because I was just like, okay, but like he hadn't done anything at that time that I knew of
Right.
that would have made me think that he was a liar or that he wasn't,
Right.
a good person.
Right.
And so I just kind of chalked it up to me being scared because I had been hurt before and I had a wall up and
Oh, we're a little bit. Hold on one second.
I just
Hold on one second
like
cuz
chalked it up to like, okay, you're just tripping, you have to like let your wall down. And
oh, You have the connections going in and out. So hold on, we might have to cut this part out. So,
No.
okay, so yeah, there was a short glitch. So let's go back so that way, and we'll have them cut that part out. But where you had said, um, I don't remember if you said you hadn't been hurt before, you had been hurt before. I don't remember
Yeah,
what
I
you
had.
said. Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Okay, so I had been hurt before and I had a wall up and I was thinking like I
Oh,
was tripping. Like,
right,
okay, like in order to find, love, you need to let the wall down, let your guard down. Maybe I didn't hear correctly, right?
right.
But then even in our dating stage, probably like a few months after that, I just noticed some things like he was still in contact with his ex and
Oh,
just some things that were off. I didn't notice thing as far as how bad he was like a drinker because he never drank alcohol in front of me. So that part I
okay.
had no clue about that he had an alcohol problem.
Oh, okay.
But there was signs of him still communicating with his ex. He didn't have any friends. And
Mm,
that right there, I have grown to understand is a huge red flag.
okay.
He had like
Yes.
no friends at
Okay,
all.
yeah. Okay,
And
well,
so,
that's
yeah,
that's really interesting, because as men, I notice that men don't usually have the social circle that women do. I mean, we're very social creatures and we tend to gravitate, especially when our kids are little. Some of your kids are little, right? Regardless, when your kids are little, you want to gravitate around moms and and be like, "Can I please have some company?" And I don't know if dads do that as much. I don't know, or men do that as much.
yeah. I
So,
mean, he didn't even have like one friend.
okay.
He didn't have a good relationship with his father and he didn't have a great relationship with his mom as well.
Okay. I want to ask you, so looking back on your life, we tend to choose what we know,
Mhm.
right? And so do you feel like in your past that maybe that was something you grew up around and it seemed normal, or you were just trying to make a better way for yourself and so you were ignoring things?
Yes. I grew up with an amazing father.
Yeah. Okay.
I often question myself, like, what?
Right.
Because like get myself in these situations where I'm like, this is not the type of man that my father was. This is not the example that I had as
Okay.
a man. I think because I grew up with an amazing father, but my parents were divorced.
Mhm.
Um, and so I always wanted to have a family unit. And
Yeah.
I always said that if I had children, like I wanted to stay together. I wanted to have a
Mhm.
family unit. And so I
Right.
think just in me wanting to have that family a unit, stay together as a family, go to the park together as a family, there's things that you see that
Right.
other people doing. I think that led me down this road to make the decisions that I
Okay.
made in relationships and to stay for so long.
Right. So
Yeah.
I'm going to just say, and it doesn't have to exactly match, so forgive me, but like in a desperate attempt to make the life you wanted, you chose what you chose.
Yes, that is perfect. Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Yes. And I look, I get it. I get it. That's something that many of us wanted. I sure did. And I didn't know any of this stuff. Look, I didn't have the internet or any of that stuff when I was growing up and about to get married. So I didn't know what a red flag was, or, if somebody wasn't hitting you, you didn't know that there was something else going on. And that's, oh my gosh, these fireworks. Anyway, that's okay. Yesterday I was recording, there was a car, we're only one street away from the freeway. There was one of those loud cars going by and I just stopped recording. It was pretty funny. So what kinds of signs did you ignore? Well, you heard God. You said so you ignored that. But what signs do you feel like you ignored in general that maybe you did see and you started to question?
So, I mean, the he kind of would do like disappearing things for a while. Like
Oh,
he would kind of like we had plans to do something or, I wouldn't hear from him for like a long period of time.
yeah.
And he would just be like, "Oh my gosh, I fell asleep," because he worked late hours like into the morning.
Oh, okay.
And so he would be like, "I just came home and I crashed, I fell asleep, like I was just so tired." Just things that like that's not really normal, but I was like, okay, like giving him the benefit of the doubt. Well, maybe he
Right.
was really tired. maybe, but it would be like the whole like next day I wouldn't hear from him. And like we had plans to do something.
Oh,
The other red flag is just the relationship that he had, the relationship between with his mom and his dad. And I know it didn't have anything to do with me. I felt like our relationship, but it did. So
okay.
his mom and his dad's relationship was one of his dad treating his mom bad for so long. She's staying married to him, but they were just separated,
Okay.
going on with their own lives with other people. But it was a relationship of his dad of like, yes, I did you wrong, but you're like my end game. You're the one that I want. You're the woman that I want. And
Okay.
they operated in that as if it was like a healthy thing.
Okay. Right.
And so like that to me, I ignored that, but it ended up being like he ended up treating me the exact same way that his dad did his.
Okay. Right. And so if he sees that happening, and I see that too with my hindsight for my ex's family, I see certain things. I'm like, okay, well, I think that that's a natural response. We often emulate what we see, and we say, well, that's the way it was in my family. Someone I was talking to yesterday, that's everyone was being abused. So I thought that was the way it was. You know what I mean? And it's like, you don't know any different. And I can say that because our mind is very powerful. We can talk ourselves into a lot of things and to say, well, this is the way it is. I don't know any different. So many people have come out of chaotic homes and said, oh,
Yeah.
that home over there is calm, but I don't even didn't know what that was.
Yeah.
How did you start abandoning really who you were as a person? And at this time, during all this time, were you running your business? Because I know you have a business you've been running for a while. And tell us a little bit about what you do and how you help women, even in all of this.
Yes, I was running my business. I had, that was like in the beginning of me starting my business, that my first business where I was helping women, I help mompreneurs in their business. So I would help
Hmm.
them with their branding, marketing, and just help them grow their business.
Right.
I helped a lot of moms transition from being like a full-time employee to being an actual full-time entrepreneur. And I had just gotten started in doing that. So I was still doing my business in the midst of going through all this chaotic stuff. And it affected my business in a huge way.
Oh, I'm sure.
I was, I did a lot of speaking engagements. I ended up becoming a certified life coach. And, a lot of people look up to me. I inspire people. They tell me I encourage them. But then here I am behind the scenes,
Yes.
like going through like hell and like trying to keep it together and trying to show up
And
for
how
other
were you
people.
feeling? Were you feeling like an imposter or a fraud, or were you kind of living two lives?
I feel like I dealt with a lot of like the imposter syndrome, and I never could figure out why because I knew I was very qualified
Yes, for
to
sure.
teach the things that I was teaching. I had the education, the
Mhm.
experience, but now when I look back, I had the imposter syndrome because I'm out here encouraging women, live your best life. Like you can do this, you can,
Yeah,
have freedom. And but here I am like bound. Here I am like
yeah.
shackled in chains in my own like home. And then that's why I felt that's probably why I had that feeling like I had like was an imposter because of
Right,
everything I was going on through behind the scenes.
right.
Yeah.
So, you know, what were you talking to anyone during this time? You're trying to lead this successful business. On the surface you look like everything's going great, and then behind the scenes you're trying to figure out what is happening. So, did you have people you could reach out to? Were you talking to anybody about what was going on?
So I have amazing friends. Let me just start off by saying that
Mhm.
are amazing, but I did not share this with them. Like
Okay.
I only shared certain things with them. And
Okay.
most of the time, I ended up having to share with them because there was a point where we had gotten into an argument and he kind of basically like forced me and the kids out of the home.
Oh my
So I
goodness.
didn't want to contact my father
Okay.
or my parents. So I contacted my friend and was like, hey, me and the kids need a place to stay, like, and she's like, of course, come over. And at that moment I
Yeah.
had to explain to her what was going
What was
on,
happening? Okay.
what was happening. Yes, but other than that I really didn't tell a lot of things. I
Okay,
did.
now, and why do you feel like didn't want to share?
I feel like I I feel like I'm always the friend that everyone goes to.
Mhm.
Like, like the strong friend. I just felt like one, I didn't want to put my burdens on them.
Yeah,
And I've even had conversation with them about this now, but I didn't want to put my burdens on them. I had built this man up like he was just the world. Like
right.
he was so great and he was everything and he wasn't. And so it was a part of me that was like ashamed
Yeah,
of that.
right,
And then the other part was the whole like when people are like, you don't tell your business, like, you go through things, you don't talk about your husband, you don't,
right,
you don't tell your
right,
business, you go to God, you pray about it and you go to therapy.
right.
And so that was another aspect of it as well.
I have to say that I've learned a new statistic because doing research and also being a woman of faith and praying for my husband for a lot of years, um, and praying and praying and praying and praying, I found out a statistic that was disturbing as I was going through some divorce counseling that 1 in 4 Christian women are in an abusive relationship.
Wow.
And so we're woefully unprepared to counsel women of faith because we're telling them you got to keep praying and submitting and all this when maybe we're in a relationship where the men are the ones that really need, big intervention. It's
Yeah.
not us. It's not that we didn't pray enough and those kinds of things. So it's hard. I think that the church is, woefully unprepared for that. And so that's something that I've been learning. And that statistic actually helped me to reconcile a few things in my brain because I did pray for my husband for a lot of years. We want to, right? We want to, of course, we want to trust God and all that, and but
Yeah.
He also doesn't want us to be abused. That's not biblical. It's not biblical for us to be abused. So I know one of the things that you had said too was that your pride, which is kind of what you alluded to in
Yes.
this. And though I know many of your friends, you could have told them everything and they would have loved you through the whole thing, you know.
Yes,
So
definitely.
now you know that
Yeah.
because and now everyone's going to know that because you're sharing your story. But but listen, we have to share our story because there's other people sitting there saying I'm having a hard time and I don't know what to do, and thinking we can't talk to somebody.
Yeah.
So how did your friends respond? Though it's not our responsibility how they respond, but how did they respond?
I mean, of course, after they found more out, they were just like, why didn't you come to us? Like, and my friend, one of my closest friend, my best friend, she even just said recently, she's like, you're not a burden. She's like, why would you ever feel
Yes.
that way? She
Yes.
was very like, upset that I did not come to her
Right.
sooner. And, so that's why I said it was all me. I can't even say I didn't have a support system. I didn't have the friends. It was really
Right.
just all me, just in my mind, in my head.
Yes. And
Yeah.
that's what I really have been finding and why I wanted to have these stories put together because I'm finding that we're in our own head thinking because I know who your best friend is. I know she wouldn't think you're a burden. You know what I mean? And so um, that we have created these stories in our head that
Hmm.
I am a burden. Plus, I think when we are being emotionally abused, don't you feel like you're feeling kind of down anyway, right? You're feeling down. Um, I know for me, I was depressed, and so I didn't want to reach out. I did feel like a burden. I did feel those ways. I was like, again, I'm complaining about my husband, but it's not. Some people saw red flags rather than a woman who was complaining about her husband. You know what I mean? So, and I think those people, I appreciate those people who are out there who are more aware. I think it's okay to talk to your close friends and say like that's a red flag, not just a he's being a jerk kind of moment.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Hmm.
He kicked you out of the house,
Yes.
and then how did that go? And I'm sure then you had to really get
Yeah.
some help with others and stuff. So,
I mean, it happened on a few occasions.
mm.
Like it literally became like a normal thing.
Oh my goodness.
Like to where it was like him getting abusive, him drinking too much, and him like kind of like pushing us out of the house, waking the kids up, in the middle of the night, them
Oh
not
my
knowing what's
goodness.
going on, and then just like us outside the door, like with like nothing. So I mean, it happened a few times, and but each time though, I mean, I have to take accountability. I would go back, you know.
Yes. Yeah.
So I
And
I
you just had that trust in him or that hope that he would,
Yeah, because
because
it was
he's
like, oh, like I was drinking, I'm gonna get help, he would go to
okay.
therapy. Um, it would just be, and again, I don't know why I felt like I was such in a desperate space where I had to stay in that situation. Like I'm still working through that part of my healing
Yeah.
and why I allowed that. Because now, of course, I'm on the other side of it. And
Yes.
I'm looking back and I'm just like, what in the heck? Like, who
Right.
were you? Like, you were
Yeah.
like taught better than this, raised better than this. Like,
Right.
what were you thinking?
And I totally get that. But I know that, we can't beat ourselves up too much because we didn't know, we did what we did, right? You do what you do, and you can't shoulda, coulda, woulda yourself to death but now, it's like moving forward, better.
Yes,
And so, hopefully you learn from the mistakes, right?
yes.
That's where I'm at because my God, I stayed 33 years, right? And so I can't beat myself up. I can't beat myself up. I can't, because we can't do that because that doesn't help anything. All we can do is next time, it's like
Yeah,
we move forward in a different way and then really
yes.
consider, right?
Mhm.
Take all these things into consideration, listen to our
Yes.
therapist. So what kind of things did you do when you finally decided to be done? What have you been doing to really help yourself in different ways?
So, I mean, the first thing I really did was just like admit that like I don't have it all figured out.
Okay.
I had to really just in I had to sit with myself,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
before I can go get therapy, before I can get the advice of people, I really just had to sit with myself. And I think that was one of the hardest things that I had to do
Wow.
because a lot of times it's so easy to go to the therapist and, get the advice from people, but just to sit like with myself and really just like take everything in and everything that I had been through. And it was like a healing part for me. It was very hard, but
Wow.
um I had to like feel the feeling.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And before I never really did that. I would, that whole take a licking and keep on ticking, I would just
I love
go
that.
through, go through,
Yeah.
go through, go through, go through. And I never just gave myself the time to process anything. Like it was stuff that he did to me. Like I never cried. I wasn't angry. It was like as if I didn't have any emotions.
Wow.
And so this time around, and I did that because it's like I didn't want to, I had to be strong. I had to still raise my kids. And it's the only way that I knew how to like survive, like go through all this stuff and still wake up and fix my kids' breakfast in the morning.
Okay, so you were in survival mode, and
Yeah, I was in survival mode. So I
had you
didn't,
seen that growing up? Is that something that you saw growing up, that your mom was in survival mode or didn't cry in front of you, or
I want to say that I feel like I seen my mom go through a lot.
uh-huh.
And honestly, I had this issue, which I didn't even know that I kind of saw my mom sometimes as being weak.
Oh,
Hard for me
interesting.
to, that was a hard realization I had to come through. And I felt like I never wanted to be like that.
Oh, okay.
And so I suppressed a lot of my feelings
Yeah.
so that I could be like strong and I didn't want to be weak and I didn't want to cry over a man and I didn't want to,
Right.
fall apart. I love my mom dearly, but I had that in my mind. And then I kind of grew up like I moved in with my dad when I was 12 years old. I
Okay.
still had a close relationship with my mom. I saw her every day. She would come over.
Uh-huh.
But I stayed with my father. And so moving in with my father when I was 12 years old, I moved in with him and like two of his best friends. So it was like it's this old movie called Three Men and a Little Lady.
Yeah.
Like that
Yep.
was me. And
Okay.
they took care of me, they spoiled me, but they like my dad was like, you're a soldier. Like,
Oh.
like hold your head up. My dad's loving, he's kind, but it was like he raised me kind of like how some people would raise a boy, like you're tough,
Okay.
like we
Yeah.
can get through anything, like, and so I had that whole thing growing up, like I'm tough, I can get through anything, and then I don't want to be
Right.
looked as a
You don't have to be crying about everything.
yeah, I don't have to
It's
be crying
okay.
about everything, but it wasn't until I went to therapy that like I realized that I never cried. And I realized like something's wrong with that. Like I never cried. And
Right.
I began to think like, what's wrong with me? But it was a coping mechanism.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. You were in survival mode. And
Mhm.
then what, so you sat with yourself and
Yes.
then what did you do after that? What other things helped you
I
or have been helping you in your, what I'm going to call recovery?
yeah, so I mean, I reached out and I got help. I was already I got therapy. I had already been seeing a therapist, but I got a new therapist. I ended up joining this recovery program called Celebrate Recovery.
Oh, okay.
And so they have like a 12 step, like a step program.
Yeah.
It's not 12 steps, but they have like a step study, like a program that you can go through. And so I ended up joining that. And that's helped me a lot. It's given me like a really great support group. And it was at first it was really hard for me to do that because Celebrate Recovery, and I'm just like, I hear
Right.
recovery and I'm like, well, I'm not an alcoholic, like I'm
Yeah.
not on drugs, but it's really just talking about recovering from like your hurts, habits, and hangups. And
Yes,
so
that's what I've heard. Yes,
yeah,
and it's all over the country, so we'll definitely put
yeah,
a link in there for people who want to check it out because it's everywhere. And it's a really good study for any kind of issues that anybody may have. Codependency, because that's one of the things that I dealt with. And I don't know if that's something that you dealt with. Many times women who are in abusive relationships are codependent, which means everything their spouse says or does, you're
yeah.
worried about it and you want to, almost people please, I guess, from there.
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes. So that was one of the things. And then the other thing was I rested. I took a break.
Oh,
I actually, and I know a lot of people aren't able to do this, but I took like almost like an 8 month break from everything. Like
wow.
I stopped doing my business. I stopped everything. And I ended up just really just going to therapy, seeking healing, praying, reading my
Yeah.
Bible. I just really rested. And it was very hard for me. I'm like, the go, 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 make it happen. You got to get this,
Mhm. Yeah.
But I had been through a lot and that was, I think was the hardest thing to do was to rest.
Yes.
Because I'm just so used to working, so used to making things happen,
Yeah.
hustling out here in my own business. But something my dad said to me, because I would wake up and like literally I would take the kids to school. I would come home. I would go into prayer for like 2 hours. I would read my Bible. I would watch sermons. This was like Monday through Friday. And then
Wow.
Friday night, I would go to church, celebrate recovery. Saturday morning, I would wake up. I would go to the step study.
Hmm.
Sunday, I would go to church. Like that's all I filled my life with for a good 6 months straight. That's
Wow.
all I was doing. And sometimes I felt like a lazy bum because I
Right.
felt like I'm not doing anything. I'm not contributing. At this point, me and the kids had to move in with my dad.
Hmm.
And so I felt like I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't contributing. I felt lazy, and my dad came to me. He was just like, not my dad, but my therapist. She was like, don't you think you deserve to rest?
Hmm.
And I was just
Yeah.
like, I guess so. And she's like, everything you've been through, you're going through, like
Yes.
you deserve to rest. And that I feel like really helped me out a lot because
Yes.
before in the past, I would go through things and I would keep working, keep working, keep working, keep working. And I've actually had a nervous breakdown before
Oh my goodness.
a
Okay.
few years ago, but it was because I didn't rest. I didn't allow myself to feel the feelings. I just kept on going. I kept
Right.
on going in the
Yes.
midst of everything. I kept on showing up. I kept on doing my business. I kept on going to all my kids' games. I kept on volunteering at the schools. I kept on doing all these things, but even that was because, again, even being a workaholic, it was a way for me to cope
Right. Exactly.
everything I was going through. I put my business like as like an idol, like I got to do my business, I got to grow my business, but really it was for me to escape from everything that I was going through.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's so funny because my therapist said the same thing to me when I got divorced. I was like, I think I should go get a job or do this. And she's like, if you do not have to, and I really didn't at the time when I moved in with my brother, she said, then you need to rest. You've been in fight or flight mode for so long. You
Yeah.
are going to be exhausted. So I I was exhausted. I slept so much and then I couldn't sleep. You have those fitful sleeps, but then I would sleep and sleep and sleep and not depression sleep, but because and then I'd wake up and I'd be yawning and she'd be like, "You have to rest." So I was just doing fun stuff.
Yes, yes.
I was healing my brain. When you're in fight or flight, right? You're always thinking, what is he going to do? What's he going to say? What now?
Yes.
Like you never know what's next. And so your body gets tired. You don't realize. Well, I'm so really glad that you did that then. And so how are you? So where are you at now with having rested and then you kind of have restarted your business? I saw that recently. You kind of restarted there.
Yes. So I've restarted my business. I still have like my business side where I help people with their business stuff, business services. But
Yes.
now I've actually started, my life coaching. I've been a certified life coach. Like I actually like went to school for like I think it was like 4 months. I was in classes to become a certified life coach,
Uh-huh.
like like probably 3 years now. I never did anything with it,
Okay.
but now I'm actually have a program that I've actually come up with to help other women
That's
who've gone
amazing.
through things like this, who to help other women go through their healing because I've been through so much. I'm still currently going through so much. Like I tell God all the time, like I know that this is just not for a reason. I know that
Right?
it's bigger than me,
Hmm.
everything that I've had to deal with. And I know that there's women out there that could use some help, can know that they're not
Yes.
alone. Like how did I get through this journey? Not that, everybody's path is the same, but I can at
Right.
least share the things
Yes.
that I did. I can at least pour into them. I can at least provide a safe space, a
Yes.
support group for other women who are going
Yes.
through difficult things and starting over again.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
To I those are the safe places I had after my divorce were beneficial to me. I had some places that I felt unsafe. It was more blaming. What did you do as a nagging ex-wife kind of thing? And it's like, what?
Yeah.
It's like, look, I'm introspective, but geez,
Yeah.
some of the things I was like, what's happening? I don't feel safe right now, so that's amazing. And we'll definitely put all that information in the show notes so you guys can contact Ebony and see how she can help you. And I'm going to look and see. So, did we talk about everything you wanted to talk about today? Do you feel like is there anything else that you wanted to share today about your life or your
One of
journey?
the biggest things that I think that held me back for so long is just is fear,
Uh-huh.
like fear of the unknown, right?
Okay.
Like sometimes we see things, there's this meme that goes around where it's like this little teddy bear, this girl is holding this little teddy bear, and then God's in front of her telling her, to give me the teddy bear. And then he has this huge teddy bear behind it.
Right.
That
Yes.
and she doesn't know that, but she's holding on to this little teddy bear, like, no, I don't want to let it go. And he's just like has his hand out, like, give it to me, not knowing he wants to give her this huge teddy bear. And I think
Right.
sometimes we stay in situations because like what we have is like it cannot even be a lot, but it's like this is at least I would have this thing like, well, at least I have a husband, at least I'm still married, like trying to have
It's
a
comfortable. And I thought what you said was really important that you had said at least.
yeah,
You were in the at least. At
yeah,
least I'm married. At least my kids have a
yeah,
father. At least but it's like
yeah,
that doesn't mean it's good. You know what I mean?
exactly.
I
But
thought
when
that was good.
I really just let it go and like just I didn't know what was going to happen. When I
Right.
left the situation, I had to leave, like literally get the police to help me to leave the situation.
Yes.
Me and my kids ended up getting an apartment like in the middle of the ghetto. And nothing's wrong, if you're, if that's where you live, but it was just really like we had nothing. I left with nothing. I left with the clothes on my back, the clothes on my kids' back. We slept on
Yeah,
the floor for a little bit until, we were able to get on our feet. Um, but God provided. I had
yeah,
everything that I needed. He made a way for me. And I would have left sooner if I would have known that. But of course, sometimes we
right,
don't know. It's the unknown.
right.
But you have to really just have trust and have that faith because again, God doesn't want you in a situation where you're being abused, where you're being,
No, absolutely not.
get you out of that situation. He's going to provide and he's going to take care of you. And that's exactly what he's
Yes.
doing for me and my kids.
The thing that's important, and I'm sure you work on this in your life coaching and working with other moms, is knowing your self worth
Yes.
and knowing your value.
Mhm.
Um, that was imperative to me
Yeah.
that to be able to know I don't know what's over there, because I often say, what's worse than being alone? Being with him.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's true, and so I was like, I needed to know my self worth to be
Yeah.
able to say, I don't know what's out there, but I'm going to go out there. I'm going to leave
Yeah.
this situation. So,
Yeah.
do you work on that with women in your coaching?
Yes. So I reached out to a pastor in the midst of me going through all of this, like a few years before I actually left. And, I wanted her to pray, a pastor's wife to pray, for my husband and to pray. And she said, yes, sweetie, like I'll pray for him. But she was like, I really want you to figure out why you feel like that you deserve to be in this situation.
Wow.
And that hit hard. Like that I sticks with me. And this was like 4 years, 4 or 5 years ago. Like, yes, I'll pray for him. Like she was like, I'll pray for him, but why do you feel like you deserve to be treated like this? You deserve to be in this situation. And so, yes, that's one of the things that I work on is definitely
Wow.
your self-worth. Like, why do you feel like you deserve to
To be
have
in that.
less than? Like, why do you deserve that? At least,
Yeah,
no.
at least, right?
Like there's more. You can have more.
You can have more.
You can have
That
more.
that is amazing. Like that was really wise for her to say that.
Yeah,
I've never had anybody tell me that, and that's so true. Why do
yeah.
you think it's okay what's happening? Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for being here. That was amazing. Thank you for sharing your story and trusting me to share your story. I know it's going to resonate with a lot of women. We're going to put some resources for you guys. So that way, if you're concerned, if you see the red flags, there's more out there. You want to be safe, right? And we're worth more than that. So, Ebony, thank you so much for being here. I so appreciate you so much. And anyway, thank you. And guys, we'll see you next time. Pause. To pause it.